Welcome back, everyone, to episode 33 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So I'm coming into today rated 1765, and I'm coming off my first loss of the speedrun. If you missed the last episode, had a pretty tough game, but I'm hoping to rebound today and hopefully have some more successful gambits. So let's hop into the first game. Okay, first opponent playing Ragav VJC. And I did ask viewers what they wanted me to play against d4. A lot of people were asking for Budapest, which I can't play in this move order. Budapest Gambit is c4 on move 2 and e5. But I'll still try and play something aggressive. Playing c5, which is somewhat of a temporary gambit. If white takes, there are ways to win back the pawn. But white is playing the triangle formation. So let's play b6. Look to fianchetto the bishop straight away with bishop b7. And sometimes it can be hard to play aggressive against such an opening where white is just kind of doing their own thing, building the pawn triangle. I guess we can call this a collie system, which is similar to London, but the bishop on c1 stays back, so it's a little bit more passive for white. And meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out how to develop in the most active way possible. I'm going to start with queen c7, which is somewhat of a flexible move. Bishop d3 is played. And what I want to go for, might even do it now, is pawn g5. Yeah, let's play g5. I'll have some fun. I was kind of debating whether I should wait for white to castle, but I mean, my intentions are very clear. I want to attack on the king side. And white plays h3. Okay, so maybe prophylaxis against g4. I'll play rook g8. I'm not going to be castling king side this game. Ooh, okay, white I think is missing the fact my knight can just take back, resigns, so that's an 8-move win. A little bit anticlimactic, but I guess aggressive, kind of offbeat opening paid off for me. If we just analyze real quick, see the eval. Engine does prefer white in this position. Engine's actually pretty cold-blooded, just wants to castle. One of the best moves. I would have maybe started to pawn storm with g4 and h5, try and use the diagonal things as attacking weapons. So anyway, nice game to start the episode. I'm up to 1774. Let's keep it going. Okay, next opponent playing Hamad. Play e4. We have a French. Let's play b3. This is called the Horwitz attack. And actually there's an additional name. Chess.com is calling this a Papa Ticklet Gambit. Okay. But black is not accepting my gambit, plays pawn to d4. So maybe trying to shut down my bishop. After the game, I can share what I would do against pawn takes e4. But in this case, I am trying to poke at the d4 pawn. Kind of like the idea here of c3. Black can't quite play e5 because there's knight takes e5. Knight c6, I can play bishop to b5. And this is feeling nice for white. Like, even though black has a bit more space, the pawn gets traded off. And after 6 moves, I've developed all my minor pieces. Actually, after 7 moves. Black only has 1 knight developed, which I'll go ahead and take to ruin black's pawn structure. And now, debating between d4 or castling. Like, generally when you're ahead in development, you want to open the center. The only reason I'm hesitant to play d4 is after takes, and then like c5 or e5, that might force a queen trade, which I don't really want to do. So I'm going to castle first. We'll see what black does. And then I'll decide if I want to play d4, or maybe I'll play rook c1 and go after the weak pawns on the c-file. a5. Okay, so probably preparing bishop to a6. Yeah, again, d4 takes. I guess if e5, I would take on c6. And if c5, knight b5, that looks pretty good. Okay, I'll go for d4. I really just want to open the position before black can complete development and get the king safe. Bishop a6 attacks my rook. I'll play rook e1. The pawn tension remains. Yeah, I was going to say that if it continues to remain, I might go for d5. Try and initiate some trade on the or trade of the e-pawns to open the e-file. The other benefit with d5 is the bishop becomes more open. So even though it's blocked by the knight, there's the potential for x-ray vision. Okay, now the e-file's half open. The e6 pawn is pinned. So black can't actually get away by taking on d5. Plays bishop to e7. And now I probably just cash in. I can take on e6. Here I don't mind the queen trade. Takes, I can either take back or take on f7 first with check. And in either line I'll be up a pawn. Okay, black castles. So I might as well take with check. Now, do I want to trade queens? I kind of want to play queen c2, but then there's bishop d3. I mean, knight e5 looks nice to start with. And this is a case where the queens kind of just stare at each other. If queen takes d1, I just take back, and the rook, actually both rooks would be very happy. If the rook moves back, then, okay, maybe I would play queen f3, but in this case we trade queens. My rooks on open files have smiles. Rook f8 is expected. I really want to do some tactics against the undefended bishop on e7. I'm not quite seeing how to fully punish black here. Like knight d7, we trade. And then I can take the knight or the bishop in that line. But either piece I take, then the other piece comes to f6. I'm also considering knight c6, attacking the bishop. And it's a very nice looking position. I'm really just looking for ways to make it even better. Yeah, leaning towards knight c6. The bishop's almost trapped. Probably forces bishop to e8. I'm not seeing a super clear follow-up there. We could trade down. I really want to activate this bishop against a g-pawn. There's knight g6 to force a trade, like takes and then takes. Take a moment here. Okay, how about this? How about knight d7? Calculating a few moves ahead here. Knight d7, knight takes e7, rook takes e7. The knight will return to f6, and then knight d5, and then the rook, the knight, and the bishop all exert pressure towards black's king side. And it trades down a little bit, but it allows me to at least get some nice initiative. Okay, get rid of this bishop. And this is another strategy, especially as we approach the endgame. Very often you want to get your rooks to the opponent's 7th rank when you're white. What we can call 7 heaven. One rook is in heaven. The other rook wants to join, but can't join quite yet. So I think it's a choice between knight d5 or knight e4. Knight e4. I like knight e4 because it doesn't block the rook. This rook on d1 can maybe enter very soon. I should also note, if knight takes e4, then can I take on g7 and get some windmill? Okay, we see knight h5, so that defends g7. Now let's get the other rook in. And it's very possible we'll see some windmill combination, which is not a common tactic in chess, but it's one of the most feel-good types of tactics, where you can continuously check the king and basically torment the opponent. The threat is to take, and then king here, and then there's a flurry of discovered checks. Actually, probably just forced mates. Yeah, rook g6 would be mate in 2 in that line. And it's really not easy for black to defend. If only black could play rook e1, but not going to allow that. Bishop to b5. Okay, so now I'll take on g7. And this is made in a few more moves. Yeah, rook g6. The rook can go anywhere back on the g-file. It's check from the bishop, and the only legal move is rook f6. And bishop f6 will be mate. Okay, pretty feel-good game. I think this game started off very strong from the opening. Yeah, black perhaps spent a few too many moves pushing pawns in the opening and not developing quickly enough. Especially like after a6, then this should already be very, very good for white. I do want to go back and share just the idea of this opening. When I play bishop b2, it is a gambit. Probably most common is for black to take on e4. And then the idea is to play knight c3, attack the pawn. If black defends, then queen to e2. And it's kind of a cool sequence for white where white's developed the whole queen side before the king side, and white's ready to castle queen side and very often play g4, g5, bishop g2, and yeah, white's pretty much guaranteed to win back the pawn in this line and get some very nice setup with good attacking potential in the middle game, yeah, especially if black castles king side. So it's a fun line. I know Gotham Chess has probably some content around this gambit. I think Fabiano recently went through a phase of trying this against the French. Maybe not in classical, but at the very least in Blitz and Rapid. So fun game. That brings me to 1783. Let's keep it going. Okay, next opponent. I am white. e4 again. This time we have e5. I'll play knight to f3. And let's play a Scotch. Feeling like a Scotch gambit here. If takes, I'll play bishop to c4. And I think at this rating level, the Scotch gambit can still be very effective, very tricky. And players even rated in 1800s may not know so much theory in this line. Good sign my opponent is slowing down. The two main moves here are bishop c5 or knight f6. Knight f6 is probably a bit more common. Bishop b4 is also probably one of the common moves for black. That would provoke c3, and then I'll gambit the pawn and have a nice lead in development. Okay, my opponent disconnected, so maybe they're A little bit afraid of the Gambit. Maybe their Wi-Fi just couldn't handle the current position. So this might be some free rating points. Okay. Another anticlimactic finish. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to analyze. If knight f6, I would have castled and then sacked e-pawn. Then there's a few different lines white can play here. Rook e1 is the main line. There's also Nachmanson Gambit, which is knight c3, which I don't think I've played it yet in this speedrun, but maybe at some point I'll try it. So anyway, that brings me to 1793. Let's make it a goal to break 1800 this episode. Do another. Okay, playing KK code. White again, playing e4 again. This time we have a Philidor. I could play d4 or knight c3. I'll play knight c3. Okay, c6. Let's play d4. So this resembles a Scotch, but black's committed to d6, so the bishop is a bit passive. And I know I've been playing mostly Gambits today, but in this line, there's not really any need to sacrifice. And it's still very possible to be ultra aggressive. I'm playing the setup to basically just castle queenside. Unless black maybe discourages me, a5 is a sign that black wants to pawn storm. So do I still castle queenside? Do I stay flexible? I mean, usually the plan is to castle and then pawn storm on the king side. Maybe I'll stay flexible. I'll play f3, like keeping options open, solidifying the center. Yeah, given that black's kind of shown their hand, it might make more sense to castle kingside now. b5 is perhaps preparing b4. Do I play g4? Developing the bishop is another option. It's also worth at least considering the sacks, like taking on b5 or c6. But yeah, it's probably not at all worth giving away a minor piece for 2 pawns. So I'm kind of leaning towards g4. Or bishop d3 makes some sense. Just complete development. And then if b4, I can play knight e2. Keep the knight in the center. Okay, I'm going to play bishop d3. I think this is most flexible. Sticking with principal chess, just completing development. We see a4. So black continues to push pawns. Yeah, I'll just castle kingside. King should be safest in this area. Black castles as well. And even though we've castled on the same side, I can still probably orchestrate some attack. I'm going to start with king h1, which I think is a very useful move, especially when I've moved the f-pawn. I don't want to get harassed on this diagonal. And then this makes it safer to play some eventual g-pawn push. Black plays bishop to b7. All right, let's go for knight f5. Especially now that the bishop can't trade off for the knight. Ben Feingold would call this knife f5. The knight can very often act like a knife to rip apart black's kingside. Knight a6. Okay, I'm very tempted to go crazy here. The first move I'm looking at is bishop h6. Sack the bishop, takes. There's knight e8. But then like f4 and rook lift. That looks like too much fun. Let's do it. Oh no, my bishop. Black doesn't have too many options here because I am attacking g7. I should also note in the line takes, and knight e8, the h7 pawn could be a very clear target. Like I might play e5 there to open the bishop and threaten mate in 2. Yeah, originally I was thinking f4 to bring the rook in, but I think e5 is just quicker and more effective. And the mate in 2 threat is knight takes e7 check, and then queen takes h7 checkmate. So bishop g5 looks natural, but yeah, this is force mate. Okay. GG. Got a pretty quick attack there. Things came together very quickly with knight f5 and bishop h6. And I'm happy with my decision from earlier to put the bishop on d3, even though it was blocked at first. It was crucial in finishing off the attack. So hopefully this game is a nice example of how to maybe react to such play from black with this early pawn expansion. Yeah, and sometimes it really makes sense to change up your plans based on what the opponent is doing in the position. Because yeah, if black castled kingside, I would have castled queenside. Maybe it would have been even sharper. But given that black committed to a5, I think this made a lot of sense. And just going forward, let's see if bishop h6 was the best move. It's actually not the best move. The engine really likes e5 here for white. Maybe a more controlled way of attacking. But bishop h6 is still giving white a clear edge. And black should not take the bishop. Black should play knight e8 here and try and hold on. Yeah, knight e8 would actually defend a bit more effectively. So, okay, that win brings me to just over 1800, 1801. I think I'll end it there. Hope you guys enjoyed the games today. As always, if you have questions, leave them below. If you like the content, do subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.